Hey guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into the Sovereign Path. So today we're going to talk about detox and where we're coming at in regard to detoxing the energy from the twin, right? From the divine masculine. So first, before I start this video, I just want to say that the purification process within this twin flame dynamic, I think it's important that everyone use their discernment in regard to this topic, right? In regard to what you feel is in your higher good, right? Not coming from ego, but coming from your own intuition, right? Your own inner knowing, what you feel is in your higher good in regard to this topic, okay? So my stance on the detoxification process, and let's just kind of clarify what this is. So when we're looking at potentially going through a period of detaching from the twin physically, so not talking to them, potentially ghosting them, blocking them, taking them off all of your social media, deleting their number from your phone, potentially not talking to any of their friends or family, all of these sort of things, right? This is usually what we're talking about. It's like getting rid of anything that reminds you of the twin is what we're basically talking about for a period of time, right? The purpose of this ultimately, from my understanding, is to quell the obsessive addictive thoughts, right? The obsessive addictive energy, to sort of take a breather and take a breath to calm everything down, right? So I certainly align with calming everything down, taking a time out, all of those sort of things. But I also want to clarify that the soul, your consciousness, the higher self, all of things that are you, is already guiding this path. This is the reason for separation periods. This is what separation periods are for, right? The separation, and I'm talking about physical separation between you and twin. I'm not talking about separation consciousness, right? So the physical separation that happens between us and our twin, on and off, however many times when we're going through this process of awakening, is for you to come into self, right? It is for you to come back into alignment with self, focus on self, self-care, self-love, all of these things, to have that breathing space, right? To have that breathing room to come back into inner reflection, to come back into that space that is just yours to process whatever has come up in the most recent physical interaction with the divine masculine, right? This is why we go into periods of separation. This is elicited by the soul. This is already happening organically. This is part of this path, right? This is why this happens, right? So to sort of have another period on top of that is basically saying that there's no communication at all for however long. There's no interaction, no any of that, right? And this is why I say, if this works for you, have at it, right? If this works for you, have at it. But I know for a lot of people, this doesn't work. And I know for a lot of people, the whole idea of it just doesn't feel right. So let's move into the two aspects of why this doesn't feel right, okay? So it could not feel right because you're afraid of losing them, right? And when I'm talking about what I'm talking about is like ghosting, blocking, no communication, getting rid of all of their stuff, all of those sort of things. So if that doesn't feel right because You're afraid of losing them, afraid they're never going to come back, afraid you're never going to talk to them again, afraid that you've just screwed the whole thing up, jumped the gun, and, there's just no recovery from this. So there's that aspect of feeling like this doesn't feel right, right? Then there's the other side of it, that feeling like this doesn't feel right because this is your same soul, this is your same energy, this is your same consciousness, and this is you projected outward, assisting you down the awakening path. So really it depends on which camp that you're in regard to this topic, right? Because the thing is that they are your soul, they are your energy, they are your same consciousness, they are you in manifested form, assisting you through this process, right? The process of awakening and ascension. And as I've said in my last 3 or 4 videos that I've released around the divine masculine and the triggers that come up and how they show up in your reality and all of these sort of things, a huge part of this path is the triggers. It's a huge part of this path. There's a reason that we're incarnate with our same soul. There's a reason that we have the reflection of our same soul, a reason that we have a mirror, right? That's showing up for us. And sometimes this mirror shows up energetically, and sometimes this mirror shows up physically. Usually it's a combination of both. But this is soul orchestrated, right? This whole thing is soul orchestrated, right? It's already figured out. Like the soul already knows what's going on. Your consciousness already knows how to do this. Your consciousness already knows how to trigger you. It already knows when you've had enough and you need to take a break and you need to go into a period of separation to process what's come up, right? The soul is you. The consciousness is you at a much, much, much higher vibration, right? This is already guided. Like it's got you, right? Your higher self, the universe, God, source has got you. You are supported. You are not flying off solo on your own, trying to figure out if you need to block your twin or ghost them or stop communicating with them. All of that stuff, all of that chitter chatter is coming from the mind concepts and the ego identifications with something that it doesn't understand, and so it's trying to control it, right? Detaching from the twin in a physical way, pushing them away and blocking them and all of these sorts of things. And again, if this has worked for you, great. I'm not downing anyone's path. I'm just adding my 2 cents of where I'm coming from and the things that have worked for me and that I know have worked for other of my clients, right? And that is the understanding, the true deep understanding that this path is already perfectly designed the way that it is, right? The ego doesn't need to try to take control by stepping in and doing all of these other physical 3D mechanisms in order to try to navigate it in different directions that it is already perfectly navigable on its own. So the thing is that if you're blocking the twin, you're blocking yourself. Sorry, you are. If you're ghosting the twin, you're ghosting yourself, right? If you've shut off communication with everyone and that they know, and you've thrown out all of the stuff that, you guys have done together, reminded you, and all of these things, if you're doing all of these things in order to shut this person off so that the mind, right? This is a mind game, so that the mind and the ego can have some sort of relief, then unfortunately we are missing the boat. We're missing the point, right? Because yes, do you need periods of rest and periods of space, as I said before? Absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. But that's already built into this path. As I said, it's already built in. That's why you go into physical separation. That's what physical separation is there for. That's the whole purpose of physical separation from your twin. It's not for you to pine after them or to wonder who they're with, or if they've gone out, or if they're still with their karmic, or if they're awakening, or if they're doing their thing, or if they have free will. It's for you to go within. It's for you to process what has come up for you during your last physical interactions with them. That's why you go into separation. That's what it's for. That's the whole reason. And your soul is already doing that for you, right? I think the problem is that we go into physical separation, we as the divine feminine, and we fucking panic, right? We panic. It means like, okay, they're gone now. That's it. They're gone. They're gone. And that's all we can think about is that they're gone, or this happened, or I wish I would have said this differently, or maybe if I could have done this. And so again, the mind starts rolling with it, telling all kind of stories, looking in the past, hoping that this would be in the future, ruminating over on this thing. But most of the time, right, until you're a good way into this path, most of the time, we're not like going, okay, wait. Instead of like me going round and round and round and driving myself crazy and feeding my addictive energy more and feeding my obsessive thoughts more, let me just sit here with myself for a minute and figure out why we went into separation in the first place. What was the trigger that caused that, right? Why did me as a soul, as higher consciousness, as higher self, just create this physical separation? Because that's what's actually happening. You didn't do it. Your twin didn't do it. Your soul did it, right? So that means that there is a very important reason for you to now be in physical separation. That important reason is for you to process what you have just experienced, right? So if another like karmic connection came up, or another trauma came up, another wound came up, an abandonment issue came up, something from your past came up, you know, and all of these will be being triggered by the divine masculine, right? Whatever they are, the divine masculine will have triggered them, right? So whatever those things are, that's why the soul has now created physical separation. This is your detox. It's built in. This is your purification process. It's already built into this path. You know, you don't need to go blocking them. You don't need to go detoxing and doing all of those things that are around ghosting. And that's all coming from the mind, and it's all physical, right? It's creating more separation. The thing about this path is we need to learn how to integrate energy. We need to learn how energy works. That's the thing about this path. We need to learn how to integrate our own energy that we have separated from ourselves by thinking that the divine masculine is somebody, not us, right? We need to learn how to deal with that, right? This is an integration process, right? That's what it is. This is about integrating. So when we are pushing the masculine, the physical aspect of the masculine away, again, I'm not talking about toxicity, not talking about abusive situations, not talking about any of that. That's not a twin flame dynamic if that's what you're dealing with, right? So when we are pushing the physical aspect of the masculine away in order to get a grip or a handle on our own self, or if because we just straight up don't want to deal with it anymore, then again, we are missing the point, right? Because that handle that you're trying to gain on yourself by pushing the masculine away is the whole reason that the masculine triggered you to feel like you need to get a handle on yourself to begin with. The thing is that it's not about the divine masculine physically. It's not about the divine masculine spiritually either, right? The divine masculine is you. It's you, right? We have just created this scenario basically in this incarnation to awaken out of the dream, out of the illusion, and out of the pain, right? Out of the suffering and out of the triggers. So the way that we do that is that We have to see what's coming up. We have to see what we're holding in our chakra system in order to look at it, to clear it, to transmute it, right? To process it. We have to know. Sometimes we don't know what's there, and we need the twin to show us our blind spots, right? I keep saying this is like such a massive gift, right? So can this happen energetically? Sure, this can happen energetically as well. But is it going to have the same potent effect, as I said in my last video, energetically, as it's going to have if your divine masculine is standing in front of you physically, triggering you? It isn't. It's a very different and very potent component of this dynamic is having the masculine physically in front of you, right? Physically around you, physically on the phone with you, whatever that might be. That trigger is going to be much more potent than having an energetic trigger come in from your higher masculine, the spiritual masculine, right? And as I keep saying, and I really want to drive this point home, is that you can call whatever your higher masculine is, whatever you want, right? Spiritual masculine, higher masculine, you have the same higher self, but some people say my masculine's higher self. It's your same higher self, but whatever works for you in the verbiage, right? Right? It's still all you. It's still your same consciousness, polarized, right? And the higher aspects, we're not polarized. We're one being, right? Or one being of the feminine and the masculine. This is just the way this reality is playing out. So a good way to really see this is that your divine masculine, your higher masculine, your spiritual masculine, who when you go into meditation feels amazing to you, right? You love that version of your masculine. You want that version of your masculine to show up in the physical, right? Every divine feminine wants that. That's the whole thing, right? And then when the physical masculine shows up being a dick, and you're like, well, hell, I was in meditation, or I had this telepathy, or I had this dream, and that's really not how you're showing up as my true divine masculine. So what game are we playing here? We really need to like take that and go like, okay, wait, it is my higher masculine, my spiritual masculine, my divine masculine, whatever you want to call it, that is acting through the physical aspect of the masculine. Why? Because they're going to be able to reach you in a much more potent way physically. So the thing is that we can really look at this, and this can really help a lot of you. It really helped me, is to start seeing this as, okay, this is my higher masculine, my divine masculine, my spiritual masculine, my soul, my consciousness, whatever works for you, that is coming through the physical aspect of my masculine to trigger me, to heal, to transmute, to process, to come out of my wounds, to come out of my stuff, to awaken, to arise, to come back into my true goddess, God, sovereign nature. Right? This is why the triggers are so important. This is why when we're in an avoidant state of pushing the masculine away, we are pushing our growth away. We are pushing our expansion away. You are here for soul growth and soul expansion and awakening, right? And as uncomfortable as that is, a lot of the time, that's what you signed up for, right? This was already like planned. You already knew when you were incarnating into this reality, into this lifetime, that this was the lifetime, you know, we're going to awaken. Let's do it. You already had everybody in place, right? Everybody is working in tandem to assist you through this process, whether that come through positively or whether that come through negatively based on how your mind is perceiving it. But this has already been planned, right? This is already done. I keep saying this, anybody who's on this path, you've had a lot of rodeos before you got here, right? This isn't like your first rodeo, right? This isn't your first experience with this. You have been planning this to get into this lifetime, to do this, to awaken, right? And so when we're in that place of just like, wanting to push them away and all of those sort of things and ghost and block and run, now you've become the runner, right? You haven't really, but it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, I can't deal with you, so I'm just not going to. And then inadvertently, it means I can't deal with myself. I can't deal with myself. I can't look at you. I can't talk to you. Right? So in a lot of ways, and again, use your discernment. I know this works for some people. But in a lot of ways, it's similar to saying like, oh, well, can I cut cords with my twin? Well, you can try to cut cords with your twin. It's not going to work. You can't cut cords with yourself. You can try. But the thing is that a lot of these mechanisms are coming from some sort of desperation and just wanting the pain to end, right? That's why you block your twin. That's why you ghost your twin. And a lot of times it's because on some level, we want to show them what it feels like. That's coming from ego. It's coming from fear. We want to cut cords because we're in pain and we want the pain to end. Like, I understand. I've been on this path for a long time. I know how it works. I've been there. I get it. But at the end of the day, this is one of those things. Like, once you're on this path, you're on it. You can't avoid it. You can't run from it. You can try to delay it, but it's just going to create more pain. And the thing is that this is one of those situations where you just have to straight up look all of this stuff right in the face. Sorry, guys, there's something on me. You have to just look it right in the face. And you just have to be like, okay, I'm not going to run from myself anymore, right? I'm not going to run from what my divine masculine is mirroring back to me anymore. I'm just going to deal with it because it's just going to keep happening. And, I can block them, I can ghost them, I can run, I can do all of these things, but it's still me and me. And that's the bottom line. Like, it's still you. You're still with you wherever you take yourself. You're still there. And even if the physical aspect is being blocked, well, I can guarantee you that the energetic aspect is going to come in even stronger, right? So it's not like you can avoid this. And for me, that's a lot of what this is, right? This isn't about like detoxing. It's about learning about the fact that you have an attachment issue. This is about attachment, right? This is why we go into physical separation, right? It's to have that space. Again, this is built into the journey. It's built into the path. And as soon as we start like being like, okay, well, I'm going to do this mentally and I'm going to do this egoically, then we're still running separation program. We're still running that same thing. We're still saying like, I just can't deal with you. You're separate from me. Get out of my life. I don't want to deal with you. Just, And I mean, you can do that, right? You can. But it is going to be blocking your own energy. It is going to be blocking your own progression. It is going to be slowing things down. The best way to come at this path is full force and in your face. It just is. And I know that that's really difficult for a lot of people, but at the same time, you can look at it as, the faster I actually look at this and I deal with this, the faster that I'm not going to be dealing with this anymore, because it's not going to have any resonance anymore. And I'm not going to be aligned to these sort of triggers and these things anymore, because they're not going to be vibrating at where I'm vibrating. That's the thing, is that once your vibration rises, you're going to fall out of resonance with lower vibratory situations and wounds and karmas and all those things. They will literally lose resonance and fall away. And so again, that trigger situation is, and I'm not talking toxic or abusive, again, got to keep saying that, not talking that. I'm talking about triggering things within you that you need to deal with and face, right? And release and transmute and let go of, so that your vibration can rise, so that you continue rising in your ascension process. So that's what I have to say about that. I've had a few people ask me about, what about detox? What about purification? What's the deal with this and whatever else? And as I've said, you already have a built-in detox and purification on your path that your soul is leading. It's called physical separation. And instead of like going down the rabbit hole and trying to figure out what the Divine Masculine is doing, or every single nook and cranny, of how this path is, it's about going in and saying like, okay, I need to actually deal with my shit. I'm in a separation period right now because I actually need to face myself. And that's what this is. And that's what the purpose of this is. And that's why my soul just created this physical separation. Again, it's not the physical aspect of the masculine who's like, right? Of their own like free will and an ego and all of that. It looks like that, but that's not what it is. It's your soul doing this. It's like such a massive, massive awareness to have, because it's a game changer when you realize it's my own soul triggering the shit out of me. It's my own soul doing this, my own soul creating this physical separation right now. It's my own soul coming in to show me where my blind spots are and my blocks are. And why is my soul doing this? Because my soul is me. My soul loves me more than anything in existence. I love myself more than anything in existence. And I am doing my best as a soul to break myself free of the things that are keeping me unloved, feeling unworthy, feeling unvalidated, feeling abandoned, all of these things. You're breaking yourself free. So don't block yourself from that, right? See the triggers as the gifts and the gold mines that they are, right? Because that's what they are. It's your soul saying, hey, let me help you. It's just coming through the Divine Masculine in physical form in a way that you can understand it and comprehend it better, and so that it can be more potent, so that you can't ignore it, right? So if you're blocking and all of those things, you will have a tendency to feel like relief at first, right? I get that. But stuff's still gonna have to come up. It's not like things just disappear, and even after the period of having that potential blocking or ghosting, and you come into, physical interaction with the twin again, you're gonna still have to deal with it, right? The whole thing is that this is working together. It is. It just is. It's just the way that it's set up, right? It just is. Your soul is working with you through the physical masculine, right? And energetically, So we really need to kind of look at it through that lens. This is you helping you, right? Do your best not to block you and not to push yourself away, right? This is your soul doing its best to set you free from all the things that are making you feel like shit, literally. So that's what I have on that. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I hope that resonates.